Hey, Welsh Dragon Metals here. Today I will be taking apart a Technic's integrated stereo amplifier system. It's a Japanese bit of technology. It's actually really old. It was left outside my door by one of my neighbours in order to scrap. My neighbours do that. All of them. As I'm pretty good at recycling stuff. Being as though I've been doing it for many years, you get quite good at it. So, take the back off already. One screw left actually, one I missed. That's convenient at least. So, there's a big steel plate. Useful for other sort of projects, or just raw scrap value. Oh Jesus, that's heavy. What we got in there? Massive transformer. Lots and lots of copper inside of that. That is to serve for the amplifier. This is old. I can tell by the amount of old ass components inside. An amazing amount of dust. What the hell is that? There's an entire one-piece stereo amplifier by there. An STK 41412. That's probably a component that's worth some money. Along with the transformer. All the rest seem to be basic electronics. Capacitors. Normal electrolytic type and non-polar type. These green resistors. Try and get a close up on that. These green resistors can actually contain small amounts of silver or gold, although you need a mountainous amount. I say can contain, because they don't always. All this crap, what's that? There's actually string inside of here, inside of the radio tuner. Back up a bit, get a better angle on the teardown. How am I going to even get this board out of here is the question. Just bend that metal back. You can see a screw underneath, multiple screws underneath that I've missed. They're going to have to be redone. This thing has quite a lot of screws on the outside and not many on the inside. It's usually twice as many screws on the inside than there are outside. Other way around. Oh, this is covered in smeg of some sort. Ew. I suppose it wouldn't be a teardown without some unscrewing going down. I was just going to tear it to pieces then, but which is actually usually a better approach most of the time. The quicker you tear it to pieces, the quicker you get to the good stuff inside after all. Drop my screwdriver. Need that little smaller screwdriver for any smaller screws than this. Damn. Some of these are quite firmly stuck in there. Maybe 3 more. Should just come apart into different components then, hopefully. It's worth collecting loads of screws, as you can actually sell them. You need to sell them by the kilo, or alternatively separate them into size, as in tiny screws, or up to bigger screws, worth quite a bit for garage work. What's this? Some sort of ghetto aerial. tiny part, gold plate, silver plate components. There's screws here. A couple on this transformer. That's bizarre. Look at that. Screws underneath the screws that hold the transformer in place. I've never seen that before. This was made by Matsushima Electronic Industrial Corporation Limited, Japan. Wow. That's one long name. Wonder how old this thing actually is. I'd say considerably. Means lock there. Yay. Another chunk of metal. Good scrap. Put that aside. Ooh, that's a nice chunk of transformer. There's a zip tie holding all its cables in place. That's going. Oh, that's nice. Love the feel of them. So heavy. Copper. Doesn't matter if this. That was the chunk of metal in the background. There's a screw missing from in this. Oh, how un-Japanese. Don't think anybody's been in here before though, judging by the amount of dust and the fact that nothing in here is disturbed. The switch for the transformer, high voltage 220 volt switch, AC, and an old style fast blow fuse. Large capacitor there and all. As mentioned before, lots of these can contain tantalum. In fact, there's quite a bit of tantalum in them. And we have solder, which is usually an alloy of tin and antimony, both worth money. If you want to collect a big blob of solder. That's actually in good condition. You can see all the copper inside there, all wrapped just under the surface of the tape. Oh, it's a good weight to that, I'd say, minus all the steel, perhaps an ingot, 100 grams or so, if I'm lucky, straight up. So there's about a pound worth of copper inside of that. Maybe more, or maybe less. Hard to tell until I got into it and took out the weight for copper. And remove the steel, as there's like a sort of steel hitch thing holding it in place. Lots of cool projects you can do with transformers. An old jack plug. That could probably be worth something, right? Custom audio devices. I could probably solder on some better connectors onto these 5 pins. A lot of pins, 5 pins for an old jack plug. Made in Japan. HP jack says on the board. Probably a lot of high quality components going to come out of this, judging by what's come out of here so far. Got some strange exotic connectors here that I've never seen before in my days. I'm not sure if they're gold or silver plated within. I'll have to rip that up off the board, and that's more of a desoldering job, so I'll have to leave that until that point. What do we got here? Sort of steel shield hexagon screws. I didn't know they had them back in the day. Are they hexagons? No. They're plastic grommets. They didn't have hexagons back in that day when this thing was invented. I'm not surprised. That's high quality steel. Good stuff. Cup of tea. Don't have milk in my tea. I only have milk in coffees. Otherwise you ruin the flavour of the tea. LED. This looks like a high voltage LED with a resistor. Amazingly thick wires for that LED, damn. Another chunk of metal, some plasticky bits on it, unneeded. Right, let's rotate that board a bit. Is that coming out of the way yet? Seems to be a single screw somewhere. I can see it. In the middle of this, the tuner. God knows why it's so humongous, and there's wire attached to it rather than just the linkage with a bar, as in, you know, like an aeroplane rudder. It would be far more simple. So this thing's Japanese. They don't do simple. Hey, got the big wheel off. What the hell is that? This is a strange unknown bit of plastic. Right, let's cut that. You know what it is. It's like papery. So that will be rubbish, that aside, or trash or whatever. There's the radio tuner, the all important radio tuner. Always handy. It's quite dark today. See if opening the curtains and have a bearing on it. Doubt it. No. It's super grey outside. Oh, lovely winter. Can't wait until it warms up so I can do some proper scrappings. Continue building my ingot stack, which is already respectable. Is this board going to move? No, there are more screws still in there. I can see another one as well. One out. Got more hidden screws in here, isn't there? Hope not. No, don't look like. Ooh. Another big chunk. Probably give all that to the scrap dealer. It's not like I melt down steel. It takes too high temperature to melt down steel for me, and it's just not worth enough. Not unless you have trucks full. Lots of solder, some big blobs too. Good few grams of solder, depending on its age. Could be silver solder. It is quite shiny. Due to it being a high quality audio device, it is unlikely that it has antimony in there. It's more likely that it's silver solder. Nice heat sink here, connected to the amplifier itself. Let me remove this from the front section. These screws on there, I think these buttons are holding them in place. Bits of plastic. See if these knobs come off. What's holding them in place. do. Wow, these are really smeggy. But with a clean, they will be quite nice, I should think. Ooh, one of these potentiometers has just torn straight out of its housing. Right, looks like I have to rip that one apart or off. All the potentiometers just sort of ripped off. Low quality, although they can be reattached if I can get these housings off, which would be worth it because there's a tiny bit of silver in them. That's greased. Put that aside. You can see they're really stuck in there. That stuff there is silver plated. Usually you silver plate components like that. So that's just going to be plastic waste there. Another couple of chunky high voltage LEDs. This looks like brass, probably worth taking off. Keep that. Brass is valuable, some alloy of copper and zinc. And if you make a chunky ingot, that's a bar of brass, could be worth quite a lot. That's definitely brass, it's really heavy. And nice chunk of steel also, that's unnecessary. Take that ring off there. If I can do that now. Indeed I can. Go. You can put that chunk aside and keep that nice chunk of brass. There's also a securing thingy by there, but that'll come off with the pliers. It's a good weight to that. I'd say about 50 grams. It's very dense. That's due to the copper and the zinc. Put that aside. Rubbish. Oh, there's another potentiometer there. Might as well take that out. Silver plated and all. Although you'd have to strip a huge amount of things like that in order to get any plating and any silver. So we have the entire board here now, released. Look at that thing there, that entire thing's the stereo amplifier. See if I can detach that. Seems unlikely. Ow. Don't want to cut myself on the circuit board either. I usually wait until I've taken the entire thing off the board to do this, as it is still soldered in place, but I might be able to remove this giant chunky aluminium heatsink, which is definitely melt worthy. Doesn't take many heat sinks to make a very nice ingot, and this is a very pure type of aluminium. As the more pure it is, the better it is for conductivity, so that has just become detached. There's a lot of soldered paste on there, heatsink paste. That could in fact contain silver or even indium, although that's unlikely, but still a possibility. If I could pry this loose from its plastic holders without snapping the board. Yep, it worked. In the front now. And we got the big aluminium heatsink free. Very cool. There's a fair weight to that too. I'd say about 1 ounce. I can go by there with the other stuff. And the pile of knobs. So that's an amplifier there. Probably going to extract that worth a bit. Very, very old capacitors. Probably not much in them. And they're not even silver plated on the tops. These ones are, but these big ones ain't. Fair enough. What else do we have in here? Lots and lots of monolithic and ceramic capacitors. So these ceramic capacitors here, and monolithic because they want to go in one direction, whereas these are bipolar and have to go positive and negative in order to create a circuit. There are reasons for that. I have to study electronics. I'm not going to be describing how to do an entire electrical setup right now. So, large, high voltage diodes. Diode is another word for an LED, or the actual thing that they're called. There's knobs on it. All of these can be cleaned up, be quite useful. For example, for a higher quality audio device, missing a load of volume knobs or some such. Not many microchips in here, I can only see one here, an old NEC chip, which probably isn't worth much. And it probably only contains a small amount of silver. And there's a AN7273, I think that's a power amplifier, that one. In which case it contains, again, more silver, but only monofilaments at that. But if you do have a bucket full of microchips and burn them and crush them all down, you can get a variety of stuff. A tiny amount of copper in this thing here, which is looks like an old inducer, that thing. Judging by its label, which is LI01, I'd say it's an inducer. Just educated guess. There's another one there. And we have that audio tuner, which I assume still turns. Indeed it does. That's good. I can use that for additional making of radios if I choose. Some more potentiometers here. Yeah, they're still in good condition. They move. That's pretty much everything inside of this old amplifier. Lots and lots of small resistors. There's not really much inside of small resistors. Bigger ones can have silver and gold filaments in them. These things, ceramic capacitors, these brown ones at least. There's also a blue one, which this board does not have any of. But these can contain some tantalum, these. And they can be composed of up to 60% tantalum, so a lot. Which is worth quite a bit. And a massive amount of silver solder. Well, at least I suspect it's silver solder due to the nature of the audio device. And inside here, they actually are gold-plated connectors. Sort of difficult to see, but they are. So let's snap one off. Get a better view. Oh, come on. Yay. They do in fact come off. Whoa, definitely. Fair enough. It appears to be heavy gold-plated. Highly doubt it's brass, anyway. Yeah, it's silver plated on the back, gold plated on the front, as you do get with audio devices. Fair enough. So, small amount of gold recovery material on that even. There's usually not much gold inside of audio devices. So, that's everything. Not bad. Quick look over the board. quite sizable. Plus that chunky transformer. Lots of copper in there, you can already see the strands of wire under the tape. Chunky aluminium heatsink, good for a straight up melt. Screws, brass, and plenty of knobs. So, that was a full electrical teardown of this amplifier. So next time,